U.S. Cardinals speak out in an unprecedented interview with 60 Minutes. J.D. Vance acts weird again and says that the Pope should stick to issues, sorry, of morality. And the internet reacts to Dr. Jesus. Okay. Plus, we've got a little sprinkling of just war theory. What is just war theory? And here I am also excited to explain to you in a nutshell the division in the Catholic Church, what's behind it. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. And my name is Shannon Babich. I am a gutter Catholic, and I am here to rally all peoples of good cheer, no matter what your belief system. And you are indeed welcome into our gutter club. If you are a gutter atheist or a gutter Methodist or a gutter agnostic or, yeah, even a gutter Baptist. Somebody pointed out to me yesterday, you know what? Jimmy Carter was a gutter Baptist. Yes, he was. You know what? Yes, he was. And so we're here to talk about the division in the Catholic Church. When I started doing this analysis over a year ago, I remember saying to people, what's going on in the United States right now is a deeply Catholic issue. And here we are. And the Catholic Church is having a real moment in the news right now with all kinds of people who did not think that they would ever associate themselves with the Catholic Church at all. Not surprising. Kind of a bad track record there. But Pope Leo is doing his best to turn things around, to listen to victims and people in parishes, people like me are speaking out and pushing back. And over time, I think we will demand more reforms. We are going to demand more safety in the Catholic Church. We are going to demand recognition for the harm done. Okay. And that's the gutter Catholic way and the gutter anything way. Okay. We stand for the least of these and we bully the bully. Those are the two tenets. Okay. You can be gutter whatever, gutter Wicca, whatever. Stand for the least of these and bully the bully. And so we are here to build a club of people of good nature and good cheer. We're here to tell jokes. Okay. Throw a fair bit of snark out. And I'm just happy to be able to be here at this time of day. It is another sumptuous amphibian morning on the Oregon coast. And I am just happy to have a schedule. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope I can continue to do this at about this time of day because I get up early anyway and I can just put my slides together, look at the news, deliver my video, and we're going to look at some news articles. I'm gonna give you basically the high school version of just war theory, and I have invited experts onto my show, and people are starting to send me emails. So Shannon at theflyingkitchen.com. And if I haven't gotten back to you yet, I'm sorry. I am all by myself here. So, I'm not here. I'm not here to be, any kind of theological person or anything. I'm just here to show you what's out there, try to make it palatable, try to laugh. And and then we move on with grace and dignity in this time. So and also in the news, so Catholic of the Year, that's what I've called him. I've decided that JD is the Catholic of the Year now that he has now that his endorsement of Viktor Orban kind of fell flat. I said yesterday that JD is doing the work of God. The Holy Spirit is afoot, and the Holy Spirit works in mysterious ways, and God loves JD. And you know what? If JD's job is to go out there and because every time JD opens his mouth, he raises awareness of the division in the Catholic Church. And if you don't understand the division in the Catholic Church, it's going to be hard for you to understand what is happening in the country right now. So I'm going to give you a nutshell version, okay, of the division in the Catholic Church. I'm trying to get good at it so I can explain it in like 5 to 7 minutes and then we can move on with our content because I figure my job here is to say the same thing over and over and over again, to raise awareness. And then, you know what, thinkers, theologians, scholars, you know what, I can give you a platform if you want that. And if everyone's interested in very, interesting stuff, right? But I'm just going to give you the high school version, as I am merely a peasant. So let me show you. Let's see. Go ahead and leave your comments, because you guys know I love your comments, and I don't know, I just love hanging out with you guys. Okay, so we've got some interesting internet tidbits to look at, and you can support my work by scanning on this QR code, and that will take you to my Substack, which is a writing platform, or a platform for independent journalists. And there you will find my memoir in real time, The Gutter Catholic Goes Home, where I chronicle the return to my hometown of Florence, Oregon, after my 30-year military marriage ended abruptly and without explanation. And I talk about what that is like. I talk about my life as a military spouse. Um, your subscriptions, your paid subscriptions, are paying my bills, paying for my attorney, paying for all of my children's expenses, while we wait an order of support from a Lane County court. And I'm happy that you're here. Of course, my first priority is to keep things calm and steady for the kids. And so that's why I'm just so glad I can be here with you. I just put a link also on the comments. If you would like to directly support my work monetarily without subscribing or anything like that, you can click on the link I just put in the comments. It's to my PayPal tip jar, which I set up in response to requests. So if you'd like to do that, please do. Okay. JD Vance defends Trump amid spat with Pope Leo. Stick to matters of morality, says JD. So, like I said, every time JD opens his mouth, something really weird falls out of it. And it gives us a chance to look into the division, of the Catholic Church, with, and spread awareness that this is part of what is going on. Of course, the white Christian nationalists, the evangelicals, have a lot to do with this. But if you don't understand the division in the Catholic Church, it is going to be hard for you to understand the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, the ramifications of and the wonderful results now of Viktor Orban's ousting from his position in Hungary. And so I'm going to just really quick, I'm going to say, okay, help me out here, because what I'm doing is I'm honing skills. Even the fact that I could show up here on time makes me very happy. And so you guys are here with me as I'm building, really a whole new skill set, as many of you have been from the very beginning. And I'm very thankful for your kindness and support. So if you want to understand the division in the Catholic Church, you have to, I'm going to talk really fast now, just so you know, because I want to be able to explain to people who might be new here what is going on. And so if you're new here, and if you're like, I don't understand, is JD a Catholic or not? I don't understand, you Catholics. Or even if you are a member of the Catholic Church, or a practicing or non-practicing or cradle Catholic, and you still, let's say you left the Catholic Church and you just don't even pay attention to any news of the Catholic Church because you've had a bad experience. And then you're just like, wait a second, isn't JD Catholic? And I don't understand this, and what's going on? And what about, I heard something about the Supreme Court being mostly far right Catholic. I don't understand. I don't know. And so I'm here to explain that to you. So I'm going to speak very quickly. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of water. Because I have a full day of activities and things to do, and I wanted to do this. I want to start doing this in the morning. Okay, so in order to understand the division in the Catholic Church, you have the far right Catholics, and then you have the social justice Catholics. Okay, and this is the whole theme of basically every one of my presentations. Okay, and there's so much news right now, I can just sprinkle in the news, right? The far right side of the Catholic Church believes that they want to take things back to before a certain reform called Vatican II that happened in the early 1960s. Now, the progressive Catholics, the Vatican II Catholics, or I call us the gutter Catholics, we want to continue to progress and reform and heal a lot of harms that have been done. But in order to understand the ethos or the nucleus of the division of the Catholic Church, there's somebody here called Saint Thomas Aquinas, and he was a doctor of the church, and he was one. He was the really the first person to write theory. Okay, and so natural law is what we're talking about, and there's some other things, and about a universal moral code, moral principles. And so he started writing Christian values into governance, okay, which at the time I'm sure seemed extremely reasonable because you had a very, very ruthless culture. And I just want to point something out to you. Let's say that you are living in the 1200s in Italy, okay, when Thomas Aquinas' time. And let's say you are vulnerable. Let's say you are poor. Let's say you're a woman. Let's say you're a child. And um, and you're harmed. Let's say you are assaulted. Okay. Now, we in our modern time, hopefully, are going to say that is immoral and horrible. And it needs to stop because we view that child, we view that vulnerable person as a human being and as a person who is deserving of justice and dignity, right? And a person who should be protected and whose autonomy and agency should be protected. That to us right now is common sense, but I don't think it always was. Okay. So here comes Thomas Aquinas, and in a very strict patriarchal worldview that they all lived by, okay, and it's not gone yet, they're thinking, how do I let people know that this is wrong without overly humanizing somebody like a woman or a child? You put into law, this is God's law. God says this is wrong. And the Catholic Church, as you know, has all kinds of rules about sexuality. And so they're like, yeah, sex is only between a man and a woman, blah, 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 in bond of marriage, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, all that pillaging, all that graping you guys are doing, that's wrong. Okay. Is there an examination in that time? I'm asking the theologians, is there an examination of the time of the nature of the vulnerable human being that should be protected? Or is it all a hierarchy and it is all coming down through the patriarchy? Okay. That's my question. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. Okay. Now, if you also want to understand the division in the Catholic Church, you're going to have to read Opus by Gareth Gore. There are so many little pockets and sects within the Catholic Church that are, you know what, everyone wants to rule the world, and there's always some guy, okay, in the Catholic Church who believes that he should be Pope, he should be calling the shots, and he should be doing more to make people do this and this and this. And one of those people, I mean, many people say, may have been Saint Jose Maria Escrivá, who founded Opus Dei, and there are many little bitty pockets and sects in the Catholic Church of people who want to go back before Vatican II. They want to go back before the reforms. They want to go back to the medieval period where there is a system of governance that is based on feudalism, which is not resistant. It's not futile, right? It's not like resistance is futile, like from Star Trek. It's feudalism, meaning there is a ruling class and a peasant class, and the theologians, okay, advise the rulers on how to govern. All right. It's delightful. So learn about Opus Dei, learn about also we'll talk more about the other small sects, but the Opus Dei is really kind of like they're the most powerful and the most wealthy. Okay. And if you want to know how JD Vance got fast tracked into the Catholic Church, I call it's kind of a drive through. It's kind of the fast food. It's the full meal deal. He got the full meal deal. And many people say, I don't know, it's kind of obvious to me that he wasn't really educated properly. And so if you want to know, I'm just going to be very blunt here, why JD is such a tool. It's because he was put into that position. He was fast tracked into the far right side of the Catholic Church by none other. Well, the first person to nudge him in that direction was Peter Thiel, his good buddy and a Palantir founder, a PayPal founder, billionaire. Uh, 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 yeah, thinks humans are disgusting, hates democracy, thinks that women voting was the worst thing that happened in the history of the world, and generally a real nice guy. He befriended Father Arnie Panula, who and they had talks about humanity and theology and the nature of the human spirit, blah blah blah. Father Arnie Panula later became the head of Opus Dei in the United States and the head of the Catholic Information Center in Washington, D.C. And then you have Rod Dreher with his cool glasses. And Rod Dreher also was influential in getting J.D. Vance into the far right side of the Catholic Church. Rod Dreher right now is without a job because Viktor Orban is no longer going to be the prime minister. Rod Dreher has been working very closely with the Danube Institute in Hungary. He's one of the people who was instrumental in Project 2025. He is not a far-right Catholic. He is a far-right Russian Orthodox because a lot of Catholics, when they decide that the new Catholic Church is just not what they want, and they're thinking, how do we get back to a more rarefied version of Catholicism? A lot of them are starting to go to the Russian Orthodox Church. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, and then we have, Father, Henry Stephan, who is a, PhD student in medieval era governance, okay, and Father Henry Stephan actually was the one who baptized JD. He's a specialist in feudalism, delightful, and then you have Father, Dominic Legge from Portland. Dominic, you should know better, and he's also been an influential figure in getting JD Vance into the far right side of the Catholic Church, and I and all other cultural Catholics, cradle Catholics, raised in Catholic church or Catholic school and go to CCD. We all want you to know, you guys, I think you should have spent a little more time with JD, at least to get him to understand just certain cultural markers of Catholicism, because wow. I'm just saying. I'm just saying maybe you should have sent him to the summer camp or something. I don't know. Okay, the thing that makes this particularly chilling is the involvement of the Dark Enlightenment Bros with the Opus Dei-esque far right side of the Catholic Church. Peter Thiel, okay, he's behind it. And also, Peter Thiel is a seed investor of the Hallow app, as well as JD Vance. And then you have Curtis Yarvin here, who is the biofuel guy. He actually made a joke thinking that, saying that people should be turned into biofuel. And both of these guys think democracy is a failed endeavor. They're extremely misogynist, narcissistic, and really just generally better human beings than everybody else. So, okay. Then you've got a lot of clergy who is on the far right side of the Catholic Church. Right up here, you've got Bishop Joseph Strickland, formerly the Bishop of Tyler, Texas. You've got Cardinal Dolan, who's just thrilled here to be by Trump. And then you have this Lord of the Sith Catholics, Bishop Robert Barron. We talked about him yesterday. Okay. Anyway, okay. And so then we have my schism chart. Now, I don't know if you guys are interested in this. If you want to take a screenshot, here it is. I'm still I love this schism chart. I did this about a year ago. And so anytime any peoples, especially powerful peoples, especially people in government, and we talked about the Reichskonkordat a couple of days ago, decide that the Catholic Church is pesky. They're standing up for things that a ruler may not want. Just like JD said, he says the Pope needs to focus on morality. And they start throwing words around like, I don't know, the Avignon papacy, and saying, veiled threats like, hey, we can get rid of you too if we want to. If you're interested, learn about the schisms of the Catholic Church, because every Christian religion, every Christian denomination, sect branched off from the Catholic Church. That's our story. They have different stories, but whatever. Tomato, tomato. Okay, we're all just here to stand for the least of these and bully the bully. Okay. Okay, now, very important, and then we're gonna get on to our entertainment, and that is that 6 of the 9 of the Supreme Court justices were not fast track, they were pulled into, well, they were, aided in their, ascension to the Supreme Court by none other than this mild-mannered fellow in the spectacles named Leonard Leo. Leonard Leo is, basically the guy who makes the money flow. He likes to be unknown. He likes to be unassuming, and, he is definitely a crusader. He is also Opus Dei and a Knight of Malta. He flies Crusader flags above his mansion in Maine, and also very involved with the Catholic Information Center in Washington, D.C. And yeah, if you want to know how the Supreme Court became so far right, Leonard Leo's your guy. So yeah, look no further. All right, we'll talk more about him another time. Okay, some Catholic people, other influencers, Raymond Arroyo. um Jack Posobiec, who's he's a pot stirrer. Then you have Tim Bush, who runs the Napa Institute, a mega billionaire. Okay, and then of course, our first far right Catholic influencer is none other than Father Coughlin, right from the radio days. Oh God, this is so tedious. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this. Okay, so we have a JD Vance, the Catholic of the Year. I think he deserves an award for the great job he did dissuading voters to vote for Viktor Orban. We'll let him have the credit. Why not? And then we have next to him Adrian Vermeule, who is a Harvard constitutional law professor and far right Catholic, heavily aligned with Opus Dei, and is the author of a book entitled Common Good Constitutionalism, where he is putting natural law, the theory of Thomas Aquinas, into a constitutional model, because it's my theory and it's a lot of other people's theories that they want to change the Constitution to fit more and make, the government a theonomy, a theocracy, which is run by religion. Okay. And then down here, oh, Kevin Roberts is the head of the Heritage Foundation, Opus Dei Catholic. He was brought into the Heritage Foundation in 2021, and I knew, okay, because I was pulled into the far right side of the Catholic Church 25, 26 years ago, and I mean, I'll never forget around the table of my recruiter and her. You know how people do; they bond over lamenting over the evils of the world, and transgender for everybody, and all of this, and what is the world coming to? And my recruiter's brother said, "Well, none of this will matter when we finally get a Catholic king." And this was in Northern Virginia, where there's a very high percentage of far right Catholics. And I went like this. I went like that. Okay. Because I was like, that's bad news bears. I have never heard those two, three things in one sentence, American Catholic king. And I'm like, what you talking about, Willis? And they explained to me that they were, th- um, basically the alliance between the far right Catholics and the evangelicals was a marriage of convenience, because I asked how in the world did Catholics have such a small percentage of the population, or are such a small percentage of the population, far right Catholics even smaller. And they said, that's fine. We're just letting the evangelicals do all the work, with all their, personalities and, fire and brimstone. And then, the general tone is that the Catholics would pop in at the very last minute, put their Catholic stamp on it. And so in 2021, when Kevin Roberts became the head of the Heritage Foundation, and Project 2025 was revised to include verbiage and a directive to eventually outlaw birth control, I was like, oh, that's them. Here we are. Here we are. And indeed, here we are. So also on the far down here, the Hallow app. That's the largest Catholic prayer app in the world. There's a lot of far right going through there, a lot of references to Jose Maria Escrivá, the founder of Opus Dei. And it's really, it pulls you in with celebrities, and it gets you excited. And then from what I understand and what I've researched, it fast tracks you right into, this bro culture of like, we got to pull us back, and we got to fix everything and fix everybody and tell people how to live. Okay. And so JD Vance was a seed investor into the Hallow app as well as Peter Thiel. Okay. And now for the evangelicals, real quick, and then we're done. Then we can get back to talking and telling jokes. Um, okay. So, gosh, who was it? Who just? Oh, my live description says it's 2025. Yes. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I hate that. I hate that when I do that. The other day I wrote 2002 on a check, so I don't even know what's happening. But so recently, somebody prominent, I forget who it was, thought that Pete Hegseth was a Catholic. No, no, Pete Hegseth has just appropriated Catholic imagery to serve his own agenda, crusader imagery, which should be very concerning to everybody. Because if you didn't know, and of course everyone's going to have an opinion on this, and sure, if you're an expert, give me an email at shannon@theflyingkitchen.com. We'll talk about the Crusades. Okay, but the Crusades were a series of campaigns, and bloody, not the greatest moment for Catholics. In fact, it's one of the most bloody and shameful things the Catholic Church has ever done, in my opinion. The streets flowed with blood, and they love this idea of there's Crusader Bros on the far right side of the Catholic Church. There's Crusader Bros now in the Protestant side. So this new sect run by Doug Wilson, that's Pete Hegseth's pastor, is they believe in crusades and they want them for themselves. Pete Hegseth has a tattoo on his arm that says Deus Vult, which is, Latin for God wills it. It's a first century rallying call. The tattoo he has on his chest is the Jerusalem cross with the four crosses in the corners, is the four corners of the world. And so the entire point, to their thinking is world domination. And for the far right side of the Catholic Church, what they want is Christendom, and they want a Catholic king, one world religion. Okay. Now, if you go, and we'll have to do this another time, but there's all kinds of imagery now available online of Catholic kings, and so much Crusader merch that was even available a year ago. A lot of new Crusader imagery. And so the far right Catholics want Christendom, one world religion with a Catholic king. And the evangelicals, or the white Christian nationalists like Pete Hegseth, want Israel to have biblical borders. So then Jesus will come back, Jesus will be king, and then there's Armageddon. Okay. So either both bad choices. Okay, let's not do that. Anyway, I know these guys, they are so cringe. So cringe. Okay. Oh, and then of course we have Mike Huckabee, who is the ambassador to Israel and also believes that Israel should have biblical era borders, so Jesus will come back. Okay, so that's the skinny. Okay, how many minutes was that? I don't know, probably too many. Okay, let's get back on program. Oh my gosh, time goes by so fast. I'm just gonna have to fly through this. Okay, so New York Times. Oh, and by the way, the PayPal tip jar that we have set up is paying for my New York Times subscription, my Atlantic subscription. So thank you very much for helping me out with that. This is from the New York Times, brand new. JD Vance defends Trump amid spat with Pope Leo. Stick to matters of morality, says JD. The Holy Spirit works in mysterious way. JD, I think, is a very important figure because, like I said, he's bringing awareness every day. His awkwardness is unmistakable. And you know what? The Holy Spirit works in mysterious ways. That's all I have to say. God loves JD, and JD has a purpose. Okay. Also, National Catholic Reporter just published an article. 3 cardinals stand with Pope Leo XIV, an unprecedented interview. Now, I hope you guys understand. I mean, the Catholic world is having such a moment right now. There will be people talking about this very moment in like 500 years. Okay. So if you want your descent, I mean, I was like, hi, 500 years from now, because this is big. All right. Now, when we looked at my schism chart, no schisms have included this much global awareness, okay? Because in my schism chart, when there's all these things happening for, a couple thousand years, did people really know about it? No, they were, raising crops and all of this. This is a big deal. So when the National Catholic Reporter says this is unprecedented, it really is. Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and look at, see, I have my note here says, see YouTube clip. See, I'm getting efficient. I am. We are going to go ahead and look at just a bit of that interview on 60 Minutes. Now, do you guys understand how big this is? 60 Minutes. I mean, that's mainstream. This is no longer an issue that people are just, maybe hearing about on the margins. This is big time. Okay. So all right. Here we are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've had that song going through my head all morning. Oh, by the way, if you love Gen X stuff, you're in the right place. All right, we're just going to look at a bit of this, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the comments so you guys can watch this. But here we go.
The Holy Father,
Am I on there? Yes, I am. Sorry, I'm still getting good at this. All right.
usually avoids calling out President Trump by name or any member of his administration. But in a Palm Sunday homily, he appeared to reference the religious language Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is Christian but not Catholic, often uses to frame the war.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Pope Leo warned that Jesus, quote, does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war.
Is this a just war?
No. Under Catholic teaching, this is not a just war. Catholic faith teaches us there are certain prerequisites for a just war. You can't go for a variety of different aims. You have to have a focused aim, which is to restore justice and restore peace. That's it.
Iran has been the chief exporter of terror. Is there no scenario in which preventing that can be a just war?
It's an abominable regime, and it should be removed. But this is a war of choice that we went to, and I think it's embedded in a wider moment in the United States that's worrying, which is this. We're seeing before us the possibility of war after war after war.
President Trump has argued that
Okay, so that's what I'm gonna go ahead and put the link to that in the comments so you guys can watch that whole thing if you haven't already. And so he talked about something here called just war. Okay, and so another thing I want you to understand, if you're not familiar with the Catholic thinkers and the educational structure. So remember how we talked about St. Thomas Aquinas just a minute ago, and when you are looking at these cardinals speak so succinctly about war and when do we go in and when do we not and how do we recognize risk, what you're looking at, these are people, okay, PhDs on and who are also standing on the shoulders of giants. You look, and so if you are Catholic, you know this, but if you're not, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of thinking, of reasoning, of discussing, of studying. Okay, this is not just stuff that's like, I don't know, I think this. This is meticulous, okay? And so please understand that this is not, none of this is said lightly. None of this is said just offhand, and none of this is said without context of hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years of thinking, of reading, of assessing. Okay, so it's a big thing. So when we talk about, so what is just war theory? Okay, and this is, like I said, this is my high school version. Okay, I'm nobody. I'm good at talking. Okay. I'm good at making jokes. I got recipes, all right, and I can break into song at any moment. This is this is just high school stuff, right? But I can say it, and I have the energy to say it over and over and over and over and over again, okay, which will raise awareness. And like I said, if you are a theologian or somebody who wants to share your story, contact me at shannon@theflyingkitchen.com. Oh, no, wait. Shannon@theflyingkitchen. Yeah, that's my email. Okay. Just war theory. What is just war theory? What is he talking about? Just war theory in the Catholic Church is a moral framework developed by thinkers like Saint Augustine of Hippo and Saint Thomas Aquinas. That's who we were just talking about. To determine when war can be justified and how it must be conducted ethically. Okay, why? Why? To preserve the dignity of human beings. Okay, that and that's the gutter Catholic way, right? Gutter Catholic is it's tongue in cheek, right? Every single person should be looking out for the least of these. Okay, so conducted ethically and to preserve the dignity and preserve justice. Rooted in teachings found in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it holds that war is only permissible under strict conditions, such as having a just cause, being declared by legitimate authority, and being used as a last resort, while also requiring that civilians are protected and that force is proportionate. Okay. Okay. So, and just think about Pete Hegseth as I'm reading this. Okay. In modern Catholic thought, especially under leaders like Pope John Paul II, Pope Francis, and Pope Leo XIV, there is growing skepticism about whether any war today can truly meet those criteria with increasing emphasis on peace, diplomacy, and the protection of human dignity. All right. We're not talking about American dignity. We're not talking about Christian dignity. We're not talking about, MAGA dignity. We're not talking about white dignity. We're talking about human dignity. Okay. And that's the crux of the issue. Okay. In my opinion. Okay. Now, I love going through threads first thing in the morning because I find the most delightful tidbits. I'm going to go ahead and put this comment up there because it's really good. As a practicing psychologist, I got to say it is very scary that the founder of Opus Dei, Escrivas, psychopathology was the foundation of all the tenets that its members hold in such high esteem. Yeah, that's very interesting. I would like to hear more about that. Okay, thank you for adding that. Okay, so on threads, you're going to get guys like this. So here, remember, I just described the shoulders of giants that these leaders in the Catholic Church are standing on. Then when they're talking about just war theory, when they're talking about Iran, when they're talking about how important it is to protect the dignity of all human beings, right? Regardless of your nationality or whatever. But then you're going to get these theo bros, right? The theological bros that this guy is. Okay, so here he is. All right, preaching. All right, just some old guy, not standing on the shoulders of giants, not after years and years and decades of study, but he's going to school us all. All right. For all Catholics that are listening to Pope Leo's rhetoric on the war in Iran, and they love to bring up Thomas Aquinas. Everyone's an expert on Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas' just war theory outlined in Summa Theologiae argues that war is not inherently sinful, but can be morally justified if it meets three strict criteria: legitimate authority, just cause, and rightful intention. Aquinas asserts that only sovereign rulers can authorize war, not private individuals. Okay, so then you have just, a person of reason who is coming in very calmly and, kindly. Yeah, but there are actually more criteria than that in just war tradition. Aquinas is just one part of it. There's also the entirety of Catholic social teaching. But regardless, preemptive war is never just. Okay, and then here's the guy again. How is it preemptive? Also, Aquinas is considered a doctor of the church. Yeah, we know, bro. And what he says is owed great merit. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's all change sides because this guy, Pratty Doinks, has proclaimed. Okay. Just a little of what you're going to find online. Be aware. Okay. All the Theo bros are coming out of the woodwork now. Okay. Because they I think that deconstructing from MAGA is going to cost them more socially and going to cost them more as far as their pride, okay, than actually turning against the Pope and their own faith. That's just what I think. Okay, a bit of the soft life. Let's take a break. This is a QR code to my website, theflyingkitchen.com. Before I did all of this, I was a food blogger. And today's recipe of the day is spring artichokes with lemon, garlic, and thyme dipping sauce. Remember back in the days when we could just like have, delight and the soft life. Yes, no more. Okay, anyway, just so you know, there it is. It's just a bit of it. Oh, yes, and you can follow my work, my memoir in real time on my paid Substack behind a paywall. The Gutter Catholic Daily Digest. You can scan that to get there. Okay. Now, we are going to, and I'm going to put the articles for all of these in the comments, but I am going to have to go in about 10 minutes. But now's our fun time. All right. Very interesting little thread I found on Threads this morning. And when we're talking about how the MAGA Catholics are actually reacting to their own Pope, okay, and what I have found is that very many MAGA Catholics were pulled into Fox News. The EWTN was the gateway drug to Fox News because, as we know, Raymond Arroyo is now on both. And, are these people really, are they aware of all of this? Are they aware of where the division in the Catholic Church comes from? Are they aware that the changes that the far-right Catholics want in the United States is eventually, right, if they get their way, they want a ban on birth control. They want to abolish no-fault divorce. They want things back the way they were before Vatican II. So it's not anymore about brands. I mean, these people are serious. And so that's part of my work here is just saying the same thing over and over and over. But here's a thread here examining one woman's experience with her mother. I knew that my mother was long lost to MAGA world. And after years, I've simply given up trying to help her. She is also a textbook fanatic Catholic. At the very least, I figured she would always side with the church over government. But I was today years old when I learned that she is picking Trump over the Pope. Okay. And then there is a reply. I lost my cradle Catholic mom to Trump and Alzheimer's. I'm not sure which one came first. What was so shocking was her willingness to champion this clown over the compassionate ethos that she had modeled for me. What disturbed me is how she often quite poorly reasoned that her Catholic faith was telling her he was the guy. I knew she was wrong, but she was so locked in. There was no way to tell her otherwise. And then there's a reply. To be fair, if the Pope was racist, she'd be on his side. And then just the reply was, this is probably true. And this is why the election of Pope Leo was so important, okay, which we've talked about before, and I can talk about again. Okay, and here's another interesting thing I picked up off of Threads. American evangelicals say the Pope should stay out of politics. Ta-da! Oh, good for me, not for thee. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes, my memoir again. I have to put that into. Okay, so let's discuss the internet reply. It's delightful. Everyone's funny. We all have to use humor to get through this. To Trump putting up this image of him as Jesus, and then he he backpedaled so quickly and said, "No, I was being a doctor." Okay, so let's look at some of the replies. This is so funny. Okay, this is actually the painting that Trump So this is what this person says. So this was the actual original artwork that Trump's came from, right? Jeez. This is the painting that Trump, who are no doubt had never seen being used in that disgusting post yesterday, using him as God. Certainly not as a doctor. How on earth can this man be president of the USA and still in power today? Yeah. Begs belief. So this was the original piece. Okay. And then the jokes come. Is there a doctor on board? When you've just scrubbed in for surgery. My doctor, when insurance denies my claim. My GP checking my lymph nodes. A Red Cross worker at his second job as an air traffic controller. Your labs look good. Have you tried losing weight? Finally, after centuries waiting, literal Bible stories come to life, and Christians don't recognize them. Touche. Touche. My podiatrist has a thriving practice. My doctor telling me, hold up, you forgot to pay the copay. My doctor after telling him that I Googled my symptoms. Every time I see my doctor, he just wants to talk about how his CrossFit. My doctor catching up on charting. Brilliant. Shh. There's a Doogie Howser MD marathon on. Doctor, oh, my personal favorite, doctor showing up to deliver the baby after the labor and delivery nurses have done all the work. Okay, so that's just some of the delightful response on the internet, and we're tired. Okay, and what else can we do but make fun of people for entertainment and also raising awareness? So I'll go ahead and put all of these in the comments, all of these articles. Let's see. And I'll look at some comments, and then I'm gonna go. I have all kinds of fun things to do today. I get to meet a friend for coffee. Let's see, here's the New York Times article. I would love to stick around and read these, but I'm just gonna put them in the comments. So you can read them and give these publications some business. I already did that one. And yeah, it's a Tuesday. I'm so glad I was able to do this today. And if you join my Substack, which you can use the QR code in the corner here, then you can join my paid Substack. You'll get my daily lives emailed right to your inbox. And you'll have access to exclusive content, including my memoir in real time, The Gutter Catholic Goes Home, where I chronicle the return to my hometown of Florence, Oregon, after 30 years as a military spouse, where my husband left the marriage abruptly without warning and without explanation. And I have been carrying my 3 minor children and I since November monetarily with your help and your work. And we are waiting for a formal order of support to come through Elaine County, Oregon court. And so thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. My memoir is deeply vulnerable, and I greatly appreciate you being there with me. And I can't thank you enough. Okay, so I've got all the links in the comments here so we can give these publications some business. And oh, good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hmm. 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 Interesting. Oh, how are you doing? I think he's trapped in a pickle between Armageddon and blackmail. He's tired of it and wants out. The 25th Amendment is an escape hatch because he can tell blackmailers he tried. So, are you talking about J.D. Vance? Armageddon and blackmail. I think blackmail is a big theme here. Mm-hmm. You can either be MAGA or Catholic, pick a side. Well, and that's where when we do need to understand schism and what a serious thing it would be. Okay, we do not want the Sith Catholics to have their own Sith Pope with the biggest military in the world. Okay, no, no way. Hmm. 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 Yeah. I have a couple of Catholic friends that turned on Pope Francis because of MAGA. At first, I thought it might be very early onset dementia, but no, I don't think so. MAGA is a cult. Yeah. And there are some markers in the timeline. I did an article on my Substack a few months ago about an incident that is, I'm going to write it down so I can share it with you later. An incident that is known in the circles as Pachamama. Okay. So if you see, why does the pen never work? Okay, if you see the words Pachamama, right, that was one turning point on where the far right Catholics were like, we can't abide by this. And it involved Amazon statues of motherhood in the Amazon that Pope Francis blessed. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, everyone's here to save the world. Everyone's here. The way I figure, you're either on the side where you believe that humans get to self-determine. Humans get to determine their life. Okay. Humans all deserve equal rights and equal dignity under just law and under protections of the law, right? Laws that are protecting me right now, right? Laws of no fault divorce, laws of oversight, right? If I never imagined I would be a living example of why we can never, ever, ever let these people have power and let Project 2025 and Project 2026 become codified into law. But I am. So here I am. And yes, that is when they accused Pope Francis of idol worship. That's right. Pachamama. That's on my paid Substack as well. It's down a few months. I think they did the same thing to Leo when he blessed ice from an iceberg. Yes. Yes. Yes, blessing ice is ice is just frozen water, so that's just frozen holy water. But yes, and of course, it's all about it's sad. So, if you're new here, I hope I helped you understand just a little bit about the division in the Catholic Church. We had a tiny little history lesson today, and anyway, I'm just glad to be able to do this, on a daily basis. It's 9:02, rounding up to an hour, and I do have to go. So I can't thank you enough for being here, and thank you for your kindness and your good cheer. Okay. The gutter community, okay, gutter Catholics, gutter Methodists, gutter atheists, gutter agnostics. We are people of good cheer who only want to do two things. Okay. Stand for the least of these and bully the bully, and stay out of each other's business personally. And I think, why not? And so, let us go about our days, seeing Christ in each other, and also, not putting up with any bullshit. Okay. And I'm proud of you. And I'm so glad you're here with me. I can't thank you enough. A tiny huddle is better than no huddle. Indeed, gets my day off to a good start. Okay. What if the bully needs to be shown kindness in order to have a change of heart? Let us think about that, because a lot of times that can be true. But I think in times like this, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think kindness is always in order, but kindness a lot of times can be taken advantage of. And also, you can bully a bully without being horrible. But sometimes you do need to be horrible. I'm sorry. I don't. What do you guys think? I don't know. Oh, and Stephen, always, always. Thank you for reminding everybody. Remember to like the video to push the algorithm. Oh, I'm so glad I'm back too. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, that was Brazil. Thank you. That was Brazil. Pachamama. I forget the word for it, but many conservative Catholics accuse them of idol worship, but it's just traditional native stuff they made for Mass. Yes. Thank you, Timothy. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Mary. The best you can do is be kind to yourself and love yourself so that your tolerance for bullying is zero. Indeed. And let's work on that together because many of us are dealing with all kinds of interesting things in our lives. Oh, I feel like I could actually have a civil conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene now. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Remember, Trump made the comment that he should have been a candidate for Pope. You think he understands Catholicism? Do you think he understands democracy, the Constitution? Ta-da! I think that's our comment of the day. Thank you so much, Albert. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, yes. Well, that's what I mean by bully the bully, by confront the bully, call out the bully, rally. Okay. Rally. We're not going to try and be polite and be like, oh, okay. No. Oh, so glad you guys are here. Okay. Trump doesn't understand Sesame Street. No, he doesn't. He does not understand Sesame Street. I loved Sesame Street. Oh my goodness. I wish I had more time to look at all of your comments, but I do have one thing to say as I leave, and I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more snarky jokes for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, well, welcome aboard. We are all here to stand for the least of these and bully the bully. That's right. And we can all do that together. All right. No, he does not understand Mr. Rogers. Okay? No, he doesn't. Would he feed the fish? No, he would not feed the fish. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for being here. Hopefully, I'll be back tomorrow and we can make this a regular thing. Bye.